Did you know many of the world's greatest inventions first took shape in the books of visionary authors? Those books introduced humans to seamless different possibilities of future. In our life, at least once we ask ourselves, how do the successful entrepreneurs get to those revolutionary ideas first? Or how prominent politicians, commentators and leaders win debates by raising proper issues and mentioning proper incidents at the right time? Why some people are able to think out of the box and others aren't? Well, all these guys have one habit in common, and that is utilizing books properly. And today you and me are about to discover a secret of how do the books empower successful people. Welcome everyone, myself Pratik and you are watching Eclectic. Artificial intelligence is something people are very fascinated about nowadays. Google, Amazon, Apple, IBM, Facebook are some of the big companies who are working on artificial intelligence. But you would be surprised to know that the basic idea of artificial intelligence was first mentioned in the science fiction book Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley in 19th century. Forget about the 19th century. You can even find the relevance of artificial intelligence in Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, Talon was a giant automation made of bronze to protect the Greek islands from pirates and invaders. Isn't that fascinating? Take the example of social media. I read a book, The Facebook Effect, which describes the history of Facebook. After reading that book, I found out that before Facebook, in 1970s and 80s, many prominent writers had already mentioned the need of universal free communication, which would bring the world closer. We tend to think that things mentioned in science fiction or mythology are just imaginary things, but that is where we miss our opportunity to invent something new. Because we deny those possibilities of future. In short, we limit our imagination. On the other hand, scientists and innovators invest their time in thinking that how they can bring science and logic into those imaginary things to make them real. Successful scientists and innovators let their imagination run wild, and then they bring science and logic to analyze all the possibilities of making imaginary things real. Take the example of Elon Musk, a man behind Tesla electric cars and also a founder of SpaceX. The Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy is the favorite book of Elon Musk. Douglas Adams wrote this book. This book describes the story of a last surviving person of Earth who then explores space with the help of aliens. We can clearly see the influence of science fiction books like this on Elon's space exploration company SpaceX. And Elon himself admits it. Elon Musk is determined to take humans into space and start a civilization on Mars. In the beginning, many people made fun of him, but now after the successful tests carried out by SpaceX taking humans to space and establishing a small society there seems very much possible. This ability to look beyond the known facts and things comes from reading books. Apart from scientists and innovators, books also help filmmakers and actors to visualize certain events mentioned in the story so that they could recreate those scenes in front of cameras. When you read a particular described incident from a book, our brain tries to form a mental picture of that event or incident. This phenomenon gives a great boost to your capability of imagination. Great actors even try to feel the emotions of the story characters because books can connect you with the different people and different cultures. If you want to know about Europeans, Americans or Africans, just read a book related to their culture. You would be able to at least understand the basics of their social structure and cultural fabric. In novels, writers always emphasize on describing the different places, different cultures and different way of lives people have around the world. Even if you read the historic biographies of leaders, philosophers, scientists and many successful people, it helps you to understand their mindset, their way of thinking. You can learn from their experiences and also you can understand how they handle tough situations in their lives. You can have any great mentor you want. Dalai Lama, Mahatma Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, anyone. These mentors are today available in the form of books. Their thinking, their experiences, it is all there for you to utilize. Humans have transferred their knowledge from one generation to another through books, so that the new generation could learn from experiences of past difficulties faced by the human civilization. If you want to be an entrepreneur and want a good mentor, you do not have to go anywhere. You can learn from them at home. Take the example of Sam Walton, a man who founded Walmart. He died in 1992. But just 1 year before that, he described his all life in a book, his experiences, his learnings, his struggles. He mentioned everything in his book. So if you are interested in knowing how to build a world-class enterprise, go ahead, read it. The founder of Walmart himself is going to teach you. Want to become a good investor? Read essays of Warren Buffett. That man himself is one of the greatest investors alive. Even the most successful people take help from books. Successful entrepreneurs like Bill Gates read books of authors who write about business, trade, and commerce. This video of Bill Gates is an excellent example for this.
The US government spends about $5 billion a year on energy research. I decided that looking at what we spend on gasoline might be an interesting comparison to see how serious we are about energy research. We take the number of cars on the road, 250 million cars. You probably fill up every 10 days or so. We've got 25 million fill-ups per day. Now, let's say your car holds 13 gallons. That's 325 million gallons every day. The price has been going down, but still about $2.50. And so we get about 813 million per day on gasoline. Multiply by 7, and we get close to 6 billion. The actual number's about 6.4 billion. So this is very close, but the result is pretty stunning. We spend more in a week on gasoline here than we spend on the entire energy research budget.
Now it is interesting how Bill Gates easily understands the fuel consumption problem and need of energy research. He is from a software background. How can he know about the energy industry? After all, one man cannot know everything. So the answer to that is Vaclav Smil, a writer who writes about energy industry. Vaclav Smil is one of the favorite writers of Bill Gates. This is how Bill Gates praised Vaclav Smil on his YouTube channel.
Next was Energy and Civilization by Vaclav Smil. It's a sweeping explanation of human progress through the lens of energy. You can't have civilization without energy. You know, we went from hunter-gatherer to agriculture to the industrial age. Taking you through that whole progression, it's definitely a masterpiece.
So till now we talked about how books empower scientists, innovators and entrepreneurs. What about the politicians, commentators and motivational speakers? How do they utilize books? Politicians always keep an eye on books related to economy and social issues. Also, they tend to read more about the history so that they can address the issues by relating those issues with the history and all the previous regimes. When the election comes, politicians are always good at pointing out the mistakes done by the previous administration, because they follow everything written about the economic policies, trade deals, defense strategies of previous prime ministers or a president. In the ancient era, emperors of big empires like Rome used to hire poets and writers to describe the social and economic health or condition of their kingdom. After living among the people of kingdom for a few days, these poets and writers used to write a detailed report on how the kingdom is working. Today, in the 21st century, media and journalists should do this job, but unfortunately most of them are biased and affiliated to particular political party or ideology. So we need to be careful with the media. Anyway, moving on to the books. Pay close attention to the motivational speakers. You would notice that they all sing the same song in different rhythms. They always say things like be positive, power of your subconscious mind, channel your energy, the law of attraction and blah blah blah. This happens because they have gained all this knowledge from the world famous self-help and motivational books. Motivational speakers never provide any simple solution to your problem. Instead, they give you a profound and very complex and diplomatic solution to every problem. You don't need all that if you start educating yourself. And I bet if you read 10 to 15 best self-help books available out there, you would be able to deliver a better speech than most of the motivational speakers. Politicians and motivational speakers are also good at understanding people because of their reading habit. They understand the fears and weaknesses of people. They write their speeches around your fears and weaknesses. They indirectly address your fears and weaknesses. So do not let your weakness become the strength of politicians and motivational speakers. Start educating yourself. A typical 300 pages book requires 10 to 15 hours of your time, depending on your reading skills of course. If you give 1 hour per day to reading books, you can read at least 2 books in a month. I think it sounds manageable. Make sure you always take notes from books if you are reading an informative non-fiction book, just like Bill Gates does it.
You know, when you're reading, you have to be careful that you really are concentrating, particularly if it's a non-fiction book. Are you taking the new knowledge and sort of attaching it to the knowledge you have? And for me, taking notes helps make sure that I'm really thinking hard about about what's in there. If I disagree with the book, sometimes it takes a long time to read the book because I'm writing so much in the margin. It's actually kind of frustrating. Oh, please say something I agree with so I can get through to the end of this book. If you read enough, there's a similarity between things that make it easy because this thing is like this other thing. If you have a broad framework, then you have a place to put everything. If you want to learn science, reading the history of scientists and the story of scientists about when they were confused and what tools or insights allowed them to make the progress they make. So you have the timeline, or you have the map, or you have the branches of science and what's known and what's not known. So incremental knowledge is so much easier to maintain in a rich way than, the first time, somebody, is telling you about Rome. Why am I reading about Rome? I'm reading about Queen Victoria. At first it is very daunting, but then as you get the kind of scope, then all these pieces fit in. So it's fun to say, okay, this is where this belongs, and oh, does this contradict something I knew before? And I better look that up. I better figure it out. It really bothers you when you read things and there's some inconsistency. If you take a chessboard and randomly place the pieces and ask a chess person to memorize it, they can't do it because everything about chess positions is about the logic of how things developed. So if you show them a position that's illogical or incorrect, you would never get to, their encoding system isn't set up to absorb that.
If you feel my video is useful, consider subscribing and hit that bell icon. Give me your feedback in the comment section. Do like and share my content. Thank you all very much. See you soon.